Let's start with the AP poll. It dropped. This is our second straight day of doing a poll-based segment. We did KenPom numbers. Now we're doing the AP poll. Obviously, there are some large differences between KenPom and the AP poll. I would assume you feel better about this. They have Kansas at number 1, Duke at number 2, Purdue at number 3, Michigan State at number 4, Marquette 5, UConn 6. Our Creighton is down at 8, Florida Atlantic at 10. Nothing else super relevant here to me. Kind of consensus, kind of what we expected. Illinois is the only other Big Ten team on the list. They come in right at 25. So Big Ten very close to only having 2 teams on this entire list. Wisconsin was the first team receiving votes. Maryland also in the mix with 34 votes here. Wisconsin got 53. Indiana got 3 votes as well further down the list. Do you like the AP poll? Do you care about the AP poll?
I do. I do care because I selfishly, it feels good to be a top 5 preseason team. It does, because I think it comes with expectations that Michigan State basketball hasn't had these past couple of years, and I'm sick of not having expectations like we're a poverty program. I want to have some expectations, and I think we have those this season, and it'll give us a good jumping off point to judge ourselves on. Can I pivot and ask you a question on this?
Sure.
You pick one team that's inside the top 10 that finishes outside the top 25 by the end of the season. Who would it be?
Ooh, all the way out of the 25?
Okay, that's aggressive. Let's say finds themselves in the 20 to 25 range and or out.
I think there's only 2 on here that I could foresee that. No, 3. No, 4. I've talked myself into 4 teams that could fall. The most likely is Florida Atlantic, who is 10th on the AP poll. I mean, they're like in the 30s, according to the computers, whether it's KenPom or Evan Mia or wherever. Obviously, a clear discrepancy. A lot of Final Four boost there for a team everybody loves. Everybody wants to root for Florida Atlantic, right? Is there any chance Florida Atlantic is actually the 10th best team in the country this year? I don't think so. They're a good team. They're a very good team. They won 4 games. Let's not do the whole overreact to March stuff again. And we are doing that with them. But yeah, I don't see it. I think they're more like a fringe top 25 team in my book. The others, I'll just rattle through. I think Houston could theoretically fall outside of the top 20. I think that there is going to be an adjustment in the Big 12 for this team. Houston last year was a great team that had its fair share of struggles in the American. You and I know that because we bet on them constantly. And then they would just be in a 2-point game with Temple with 5 minutes left. You can't do that in the Big 12. You can't go up against Baylor and bring we're going to beat Temple by 2 today effort. And also, I don't love Houston's roster as much as the past 4 Houston rosters. I think they're really missing a front court star here. And their guards are good. Their guards aren't Marcus Sasser, though. So it's impressive they ripped LJ Cryer from Baylor, but I do think there will be an adjustment and would not be surprised at all if they drop into 20 to 25 range. The other 2 are more stretching imagination here. There's absolutely a world that Michigan State is just the same team they've been now. There is a world that happens. I wouldn't bet on it. I'm expecting the leap, but there's a world. There's definitely a world. And the last one is the preseason number 1 team in the AP poll cart. There is a scenario where Kansas implodes. And I've talked about that scenario, but even just in the comments today, when we were realizing they only have 2 guards on the entire roster, that's scary. What happens if something happens to DeJuan Harris? What happens if something happens to Elmarko Jackson? What do? They don't really have, are they running Kevin McCullough at point? Is Hunter Dickinson running point? That team is incredibly thin for an AP number 1 team.
For the first time all off season, I have made a switch. Kansas is not my preseason number 1 team. I think Kansas belongs in the 2 to 3 range. I would have Purdue as my number 1 team in the country currently. That's what I'd have up there.
Your love-hate toxic relationship with Purdue is so funny to me. Yesterday, you wouldn't mention them by name on the show. Now they're your number 1 team in the country. Last week, you had Michigan State over them.
I know. It's just they chew me up and they spit me out, man. But they're just like they were, I don't know. They're the best team in the country. They had the least amount of question marks to me personally. Like Duke's best player might have a bad hip. Kansas is thin. Purdue has the national player of the year. Like, I don't know. It seems, I think there's a lot less question marks with Purdue than there is with Duke and Kansas currently.
So from what I can tell, there were 63 votes here, or 63 first place votes. Purdue got 3, Michigan State got 1, UConn got 2. The rest were Kansas and Duke. Kansas got 46 first place votes. Duke got 11. I am very surprised that Kansas got that many of the votes. 46 of 63 votes for first place. I think there should be more distribution between the top group. Like I think Michigan State should have gotten more than 1 vote for first. I think Duke should have gotten more than 11. I think Purdue definitely should have gotten double-digit votes. That's like the fact that it's consensus that it's Kansas is pretty shocking to me. I don't really know who's driving that, you know?
Yeah. One last Baylor shout here. You mentioned that they were losing to and or having bad games against Temple. Credit to them for literally going out and getting Temple's best player and adding him this season.
Houston, you mean?
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a special tactic. Go get the guy that's beating your ass every year and add him to your team.
It's definitely
really
a
love that
tactic. I do like that. St. Mary's is 12 spots lower than Gonzaga here. Gonzaga's at 11, St. Mary's 23. I know this was a dialogue in our group chats as well, because St. Mary's got more votes from the West Coast Conference poll than Gonzaga did. St. Mary's won the tiebreak and was the number 1 team preseason, according to West Coast Conference people. The AP poll does not reflect that. It has Gonzaga about 12 spots higher. Where do you stand on Gonzaga versus St. Mary's heading into the season?
Yeah, I think that's a pick 'em. That's a pick 'em thing. It should not be that far away. But I will say this: isn't St. Mary's was picked to win the league, right?
By 1 more vote than Gonzaga.
By 1 more vote than Gonzaga. Okay. I have a hard time thinking if I could get like Gonzaga plus 120 to win the WCC. Like, I can't not jump on that. But at the same time, I think that St. Mary's and Gonzaga are way closer than that. Last thing I'll say about this poll, I'm going ahead and throw 2 teams on this list that aren't going to be in the top 25 at the end of the season. San Diego State will not be in the top 25 at the end of the season. I mean, they lost a good amount. They lost Keyshawn Johnson as well. Yes, they had a good run last year. Yes, they were a good team last year. I also think that their conference is really good. Like, I love New Mexico. Colorado State has Isaiah Stevens back. Like, their conference is going to be good this season. I think that they will end up dropping out of the top 25. And I also think Villanova will end the season outside the top 25 as well.
I like both of those shouts. I think you're correct. I'll give you the teams that will replace them. I think Colorado makes their way into the top 25. I think Maryland makes their way into the top 25. I think Auburn makes their way into the top 25 as well. And all 3 of those are in the first 7 or 8 teams that also receive votes in this poll. So, all right. Can I give my final AP poll stance, though? I don't care about this. Is it okay
at all? At all?
Yeah, I don't care about this. I don't care.
Would you not care in any fashion? Like, Michigan's top 10 team wouldn't care, nothing.
I mean, obviously, like, I would think that's cool for my team, but like, they've been that the last 2 years. I don't care. Was I celebrating they were a preseason top 10 team last 2 years? I don't think so. I don't remember if we talked about it, to be honest. But like,
were they preseason top 10 last year?
They were one of the last 2 years. I think it was 2 years ago. They were preseason.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, top 5. Last year was top 25. But
okay,
I just like that's like I don't care. It's not cool. Maybe I'm shaded by the fact that my team keeps underperforming. But like, in as far as the preseason poll stuff goes, I'm way more interested in what computers say. And I know, like, we're not a math podcast. You don't care about KenPom, whatever. Like, at least there's like reasons there that are quantifiable. Like, oh, this analytics system that is consistent every single year at telling us who the best teams are says Purdue's better. That's an outlier and unique, right? AP poll is just a bunch of writers voted for Kansas. Why the hell do I care about that? Like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that's surprising here. I don't think there's anything interesting here. And if we have to keep talking about the AP poll constantly, I think I might lose my mind. I don't like it.
All right, no more AP poll talk moving forward. But I don't know if I can do any more Schmenschmom
I mean, we can like
talk.
if Michigan State jumps up to number 1, then there's something compelling there to talk about. But right now, it's like we're stretching to be like, ooh, is it interesting that Kansas is the best team in the country according to a bunch of writers? Not really. Is it? Like, I don't know. We might disagree with 3 spots. Oh, they should be 2 spots lower. Like, I don't know. I'm just
Well,
annoyed
you want to know the great thing about this though, G,
because we don't have
is
to
that
talk
this week we got exhibition games firing up, so we could talk about how I don't know. We could talk about how Michigan State somehow was only within 2 of Montclair State at half before they turned, and and AJ Hoggard had 7-7 with 4 turnovers. That might happen. That'll be the topic of discussion soon. And we could talk about our own poll rankings, if we have 17 teams, which how it should be. So we want to talk about it much.
Okay. Pretty good segue into my surprise topic for you today.